There we are. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Campfire Chat. I want to say campsite, but Campfire Chat. The usual suspects are in the house. We have Matthew. And then, of course, we got Scoutmaster Bucky. There we go. And Mike to keep us all straight in the chat room. Okay. He's our boss there. And I want to welcome everybody to the Campfire Chat. We're all getting ready for summer camp or day camp. And that's one of those major concerns that a lot of leaders may have. You've been doing scouting for a while, and now you're going to go off to summer camp for the first time. What to expect? This is something that comes up quite often. You just are in great luck because there's some people here that have got a lot of experience going to camp. So definitely put that in the chat if you have a question. Try to stay within the scout law, okay, and the scout oath, okay. We want everybody to be friendly, courteous, and kind. Okay, so definitely put that in the chat. And we do a lot of really cool stuff here. And answering your questions is a major thing that we do. Matthew's got a fantastic video out, by the way. And I plan to publicly embarrass him a little bit because his video is it's a step beyond. Okay, it is amazing. Okay, when he got into some of the things, making a difference in that video, that was life-changing. Okay, for me, and it was quite evident that if you're not a subscriber to his channel, you need to get over there and definitely get subscribed. Matthew does these videos, and his editing is phenomenal. Okay, and they are high quality, and I'm honored to have Matthew with us, and I'm very pleased that he's here. So that's awesome. So if you have questions about those videos, and of course you got Scoutmaster Bucky down there. He's going to be doing what is that? What do you call that? The jukebox thing?
Yeah, the Bucky Jukebox top 10 list.
That's the cool thing. So definitely put that in the chat. Now, normally we have a banner going. I don't know if we got that going.
I'll turn it on.
All righty. All right. The banner, we want to make sure that you put a thumbs up on it. That tells YouTube, the algorithm, that there's people actually watching and participating in the video. So that's an important.
More people will join the chat. Otherwise, we'll get lonely in a little bit here.
Exactly. So you can always say hi, and definitely put that in the chat. We'll do a shout out to you. But if we have a question, we're going to jump right into the questions because it's kind of a Q&A.
Well, I'm gonna hijack the opening here. And Stan, you have been under the weather.
I have.
We're very happy that you were able to make it tonight.
Yeah. Yes. It's been rough. Yeah, the right after the national meeting, I was asked to be on the host team because the national meeting was being held in my hometown, Orlando, and it was nice to go there because you get all the benefits, but you don't have to buy any of the tickets. So it's kind of nice, but that's the host thing. But it's really just making sure people getting to the meetings they're supposed to be in and so on. But there's a convention part, and I must have interviewed a bunch of people. And what's nice about it, if you're a member of the channel, I'm going to release the videos to the membership as they get edited. But I'm kind of digressing a little bit. But right after the national meeting, I got rather sick. I thought it was a cold, but it turned into pneumonia. Which wiped me out for a period of time. And then now it's bronchitis, and I've gotten a lot of antibiotics. I'm still on antibiotics. And it has really been difficult to get back up and running. The channel, I haven't been able to put any videos out. I had to use my spare. I always have spare available in case, I get a flat tire. I use that spare, and that unfortunately I had to skip last week and probably this week's just to get caught up. Like I have the scripts ready. We just need to do the video. And this is probably the longest that I've talked in a while.
Well, we'll help with the talking tonight, and we'll
especially Bucky. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're happy that you're feeling better, that you're able to be here tonight, and keep on the road to recovery.
Yeah.
And
It's
we'll
been tough.
We'll have Matt do a lot of talking tonight since he's trying to call me out.
Should I get to a couple questions here?
Yeah,
absolutely.
We have questions. Yay.
First is just a shout out. Hi from PAC 3506 in Medina, Ohio, celebrating 50 years.
50 years. Wow.
That's
as a
quite an
PAC.
accomplishment.
You know, Mike, you and I being from Minnesota, we have a town, both Edina and Medina. And I wonder if we're saying it correctly, because a lot of people mispronounce from out of state Edina to be Edina or Edina. So I hope Medina, Ohio is correct.
You know, it's funny about pronunciations. I'll tell you, when I was in Massachusetts, they have a different pronunciation. Everybody calls, if you're from outside of the town, everybody calls it Peabody. So, and everybody that lives there calls it Peabody. So it's different. Okay. And same thing with Haverhill. A lot of people think that's how it's pronounced, but a lot of people that live there call it Haverhill. So it's
and then people mispronounce Illinois.
Oh yeah,
the S in there, Illinois.
Put the S on it.
There's multiple of them, right?
Yeah.
That drives my wife crazy. She's from Mundelein or Mudville, Mundelein, Illinois.
And then, of course, you have, different dialects. So, I'm from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess I pronounce Oregon incorrectly. It's Oregon.
Yeah. If you're from the West Coast, it's Oregon.
It's Oregon.
Oregon. Okay.
All right. Well, we have Big Relantel donated some memberships. So thank you, Relantel.
Thank you so much. The memberships, if you're familiar with that, in case people don't know, you can actually sign up on a list to try out a membership. And then members will actually buy you a membership, trial membership. And I hope to earn your regular membership. It's not that much, but it definitely
it's like $4 a month.
It's the cheapest that YouTube would let me. It was absolutely the lowest amount. They wouldn't let me, if it was a penny less, they wouldn't let me list it. So it is the lowest it possibly can be. But, and there's no levels or anything. And it helps. It helps out. But if you want to try it, you have to sign up for it. And there's an elaborate system for doing that. So, but definitely sign up. And then when somebody does buy gift memberships, you can try it out. Yeah. Get all the perks.
Awesome.
All right. Well, here's a really good question.
Sure.
What grade level do you think is the right time to become an SPL? I suppose it probably depends on the ages of the scouts in your troop.
Yeah. Well, it's the maturity level. That's what I would think. If the maturity level is there where they can work with the Scoutmaster and really listen to what's going on. Senior patrol leader is a huge position for a troop. To say that, you have to be in the 5th or 6th grade, that believe me, there are a lot of 6th graders that are not mature and would be a problem to work with. So it's the maturity level needs to be there. So
I think there's a lot of other things. It depends on the size of the troop.
True.
It depends on the involvement or the mentorship of the adult leaders as individuals and as a team.
Yeah.
And I've had 17-year-old SPLs and I've had 13-year-old SPLs.
Yep.
And there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of one in particular, a young lady that was very young, 13 years old, and there was a little bit of concern from some that she wouldn't quite get it. But with the expectations set so low, she really knocked it out of the park. However, I think if we had had higher expectations, she might have fallen short. And so I think it's a lot of different things that come into play, and attitude of the adult leaders.
Well, with senior patrol leader, you really want buy-in from your scoutmaster and assistant scoutmasters. You want them to be there, like you were saying, with mentoring, to be able to really work with the scout, because that's a huge position. With the troop, they run the troop. The youth meeting is theirs. It doesn't belong to the scoutmaster. So that's one of those things. Your senior patrol leader is huge. So gotta have that. Gotta have that.
So here's a question I just pop up. Can we talk about Den Chief? It's my first time ever. I presume that this is a first-time viewer. And this is what the Den Chief position is, one of the most commonly discussed things in your video, Stan. So I can certainly refer them to videos on this channel. There's quite a few.
It is my favorite subject. I think that it's one of the most important youth positions there is that Den Chief. Den Chief, if you go back in history, the Den Chiefs were the den leaders back when Cub Scouting first started, back in the 30s. The 1930s, that was the intent, was to have a scout from a troop come over and be a den chief to run that den. It became a little chaotic because the program was brand new, and the den leaders weren't really in there at that time. And then they took part and they restructured it a little bit, and the den leader just became part of the team of a den. And they are so critical, absolutely the most critical youth role you'll have, because they're not only giving service to the Cub Scouts and helping the den to succeed, but they're also recruiters for your troop. Those Cub Scouts they're working with, they're the ones that are going to follow that den chief right into the troop. So that's there's a whole dynamic there. And then that den chief, the former den chief in the troop, becomes a troop guide. So it's like, it's so amazing. You can really see the whole process in live. You can see it moving from one step to the next. It is just phenomenal. Den chiefs are absolutely critical. I'm sure, Matt, you probably agree. As far as Cub Scouts, den chiefs are very important.
And I think it ties in with the SBL comment about should a person step in to become a good den chief, what rank or what school age they should be at. And I think it does come down to maturity, because we've talked about this before, where if you have a sibling come in, all of a sudden they just become a larger Cub Scout sometimes, and they're not helping nor setting the example. And
your den leader doesn't deserve that.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes some kids step into it. Some scouts from the troop step into the role just as a checkbox. So they're not really there with their heart into it. And we, at least in my pack, have gone through the steps of having the den chiefs interview. So that way they get a little bit of experience interviewing and explaining the roles and responsibilities and what they believe a den chief is, and then what we expect for them to set the standard. So that way there's no, I didn't know that this was a thing, or I didn't know that I should be helping out in this manner, or that I could or could not do something. So I think that helps with den chiefs and utilizing them appropriately.
Yeah. And the online training helps, going through that training process. And it's not just for the youth. The den leaders should also go through the training too, just to know what they've been told, so that they're all on the same page. That's a critical thing for den leaders. You need to be an asset to the den, not a problem. Okay. If you're a problem, you need to go. So it's, that den leader does not need a teenage Cub Scout. So it could really run into problems. So, but
we found that sometimes to have for the Scoutmaster and the Cubmaster to just kind of have a conversation with the den chiefs, and also kind of to reinforce that, hey, you're not a bigger Cub Scout. You're, silliness doesn't fly here. You need to help bring the Cub Scouts into a non-silly state and orderly. So,
and there's live training too, not only just online, but they also have live training, and they redid the live training a few years back, and it's involved. There's 3 modules. It's involved. So, and it's an ongoing process. It's not a season for den chiefs. It should be continuously year round. Scouting is becoming more year round, especially through membership. Membership's now year round. No matter where you join, you pay for that year. So, and it just keeps going and renewing at the same time. So membership and everything I like to refer to this whole thing about scouting is the renaissance of scouting. We're bringing it back. Scouting has gone through all kinds of problems in the past, and we've learned from it. And we have taken steps to prevent those problems from reoccurring, and as much as you physically possibly can. So scouting is going through that renaissance. That was the big thing at the meeting. They were talking about the power of one. We need to start recruiting parents instead of Cub Scouts. Recruit, the parents are going to bring their Cub Scouts. They're going to bring their kids. That's kind of the point of view, is changing the point of start recruiting parents into scouting so that they can bring their kids in and start helping out the group as a whole. So it was inspiring. Some of the speeches that they gave were very inspiring at the meeting. So I think we're on that edge, like in the 50s when scouting was just on that edge right after World War II. It's on that edge again, and I think it's going to blossom. Now, it may not ever get as big as it was in the 70s. That's possible, but I believe the quality has gone through the roof as far as the quality of the program, quality of all the things that are going on in scouting. I'm a huge believer that we have made a huge turn towards the better of scouting, and I'm very excited about the future.
All right. Well, we have a donation here from Pin King 554.
Awesome.
Patrol or adult cooking for summer camp. So
yes.
Basically asking, should the scouts cook by themselves and the adults cook separately, or?
Well, you'll end up with less burnt food. That's been my personal experience. It is amazing. Some camps, they cook in the sites, the actual campsite, all meals. Some have dining halls, and it varies. It depends on what camp you go to. More rustic camps typically do the camp cooking method, where it's all done in the campsite, and the troops and the patrols should always cook on their own. Okay, and the same thing's true with the adults. The adults should be doing the same thing, because we're going to make sure that we're not going to have a problem with raw food. Nobody likes to eat raw chicken. Sushi chicken is not good. Believe me, you might as well just camp out in the outhouse. It is not a good thing. So definitely cook the food appropriately. That's not a good thing.
All right. So again, get you another question here. Just
Sure.
Chair Davidson is joining us from the Natural State Council in Arkansas and looking into becoming a commissioner.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wondering if having a vehicle is an issue to be a commissioner.
It's good to be moving around. It depends on where you are. If you're in a small community and you can just, take a bike or walk someplace, then it works out. But yeah, depends on where you are. If you're in a rural community, it might be a distance to drive. My wife and I, a long time ago, about 10 years ago, we decided that we're done with having 2 cars, one each. And we share a vehicle. So, and we can schedule it, and she's only using it during the day, and I'm busy with other things during that time, and so on. And we can schedule a vehicle. Uber is a big thing that could be a possibility, and you could always team. You could work as a team. So if you have somebody else that has a vehicle, they might be able to team up with you and work together. Commissioners are so critical, and if you're thinking of becoming a commissioner, you've got a few right here. So I'd recommend doing some commissioner work. Commissioner work it's not hard. We will train. You do not have to have the experience that you imagine. In a way, it's actually good that you don't have those experience. We don't have to break any bad habits. So that's the other end of that. But the commissioner is a critical role, and we don't have enough of them. Units outnumber commissioners many to one, many to one. So the more commissioners we have, we will do what we can. Now, different commissioners could do different things. You could have commissioners that do just roundtable. So that would be easy. Got another question there, it looks like.
Well, related to the commissioner, Vilantel, one of our frequent viewers and longtime member, can you demystify the role of district commissioner?
Oh, yeah. District commissioners, they're really just the team lead of all the unit commissioners in your district. And they make sure that, and there's a little, sometimes you might have a commissioner that has experience in a realm that a troop or a pack is having difficulties with. And the district person will say, hey, could you look in on this particular unit? That's kind of what they do. They kind of coach all of the unit commissioners to kind of focus their attentions. There's so few commissioners, and commissioner is the oldest position in scouting. It predates professional scouting. It's really old, so it goes way back. And commissioning as a commissioner, going out and just helping a unit with an issue, a problem that you may have a solution to, something outside the box, something outside the tent that just changes everything. That's the beautiful thing about commissioners. They're not there to make everything go the way you want. Sometimes they have to say no. They have to be able to do that, but they are there to help a unit succeed. That's really what their goals are. I don't know, Matt, do you have any suggestions as far as commissioning? I mean, I know you're a commissioner.
Yeah, I'm a commissioner, and I'd say the biggest thing is if you're kind of on the fence about becoming a commissioner, just throw your hat in and give it a try. I was sitting on the fence this time last year. I even went to one of the commissioner colleges, because I'm like, I'm just going to find out what this is all about, because I felt I did not have enough experience in order to be any sort of benefit to a pack or to a troop. And I found out that it's less about that experience and more about managing people and resolving conflicts and basically helping them set goals and recognizing that a lot of the things that we talk about on all of our channels, as far as the biggest thing you'll see is, hey, a lot of people don't do the training, and then they go off into left field and they start doing rogue things. And then
what I call free range scouting.
Exactly.
No.
And then they're like, we did all these activities. What do you mean they don't count? Like, well, like this was the standard and you guys didn't do the activities that you needed to do. So like that, I'm sorry, that does not count. And then also resolving conflict, and then sometimes helping units move into or people move into other units or dissolve units and things like that. I've unfortunately been involved with that quite a few times, where I've gone to help a unit, and at some point people are so burnt out and people are so upset.
Not all units are the same. Not all units are the same. Sometimes it's a good thing that the scouts move on to another unit. It matches what they want. There are different units. We had units that didn't camp. They didn't really do a camping program. The scouting troops, and they would grudgingly go to summer camp, grudgingly do one camporee, but that was it. They didn't like camping. And then when you go to that unit and find out what's going on, you find out that they're really into computers, and they're really into gaming and all the other stuff like that. It is amazing. You can combine those things with an outdoor experience. There are places that have electricity and cabins and so on that you can actually do things. So that's the neat thing about it. And being a unit commissioner, you can kind of come in and just think outside that box. It was ideal for a lot of youth. A lot of youth wanted to be in that unit versus one that went camping every single month. So that's, every unit is different. Some are focused on water, some are on shooting sports, some are, hiking only. There's a unit out there for everyone. And and this is the neat thing about scouting, and this is why we're going through this renaissance, why it's so exciting, is that it's year round. It's year-round scouting. You can do all these things. You can get involved in that unit and really enjoy what they have to offer. Your youth will love it, and as an adult, you'll love being a part of that, facilitating that fantastic thing, and then become a unit commissioner. A little ad there. So trying to get that in there. Well, Bucky, do you have any suggestions about unit commissioning?
We're forgetting about roundtable commissioners. We're forgetting about the unsung heroes of the Commissioner Corps.
Yes, roundtable, man.
They are vitally important because they are the ones that help bring the message from the council, the message from our parenting organization, and I don't know. I did a number of years as a Cub Scout Roundtable Commissioner out of frustration that we weren't getting information and ideas. And I haven't had a lot of negative or positive experience from a unit commissioner. I think I've been told, you're a seasoned unit leader, so we don't need to have a unit commissioner visit you as much. Well, I find that false. And I think you feed off of both. But my comment is there's more than district commissioner, there's more than unit commissioner, there is the roundtable commissioner. And I recommend, whether you're a commissioner or not, to attend your council's College of Commissioner Service or College of Commissioner Science.
Whether that's open to everyone. That's not just commissioners. That's open to everyone.
There are courses or classes that are kind of exclusive to the Commissioner Corps that really are similar to Wood Badge. No, don't play the song, Matt.
I've got that right there.
That was a reference to Matt's videos. Anytime he references Wood Badge, he plays the song or a clip. But it's similar in some of the courses that Wood Badge does, that College of Commissioner Service does. Did I miss something?
Yes.
Yeah, he's playing in the background.
All right. I love that song. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But as far as commissioners, the roundtable, there's different ones. There's ones that are specialized in Cub Scout roundtable. There's ones that do troop roundtable. There's ones that do explorers. They even have Sea Scouts and crew, the venture. Okay, so there's different unit commissioners at roundtable. And let me tell you a little story. I did a video where I had a guy that was commenting on it. He says, "We don't have a roundtable." And I said, "Yeah, you do." And he had mentioned what council he was from. So I just picked up the phone and called the council service center where he was. And I said, "When do you have it and where?" And they said, "Well, we have it at this place and it's at 7:00. And so and I replied back to him, sure enough, he does have a round table. It's just nobody told him about it, I guess. And so round table is out there. Do it.
So let me tell you, in our council, they had some, I've been told numerous different stories, but the general consensus of the volunteers was, as the pandemic came on, there was some changes going on, and our council implied, or through our volunteers, no more roundtable. And so as we've come out of it and such, I have some people that have told me, no, that was never said. But we sit with like 13 to 16 geographic districts.
Yeah.
And only half of them still have any sort of a roundtable.
Yeah.
There are some that never recovered from the pandemic and that declaration. And so I have to believe there's other places in the U.S. that post-pandemic haven't been able to bring back the roundtable in its traditional format. Maybe it exists in an electronic format.
Yeah.
I know
the Zoom meetings and all that stuff that was going on. I mean, that was a real common thing. I think we did ours on Facebook. I think that was a big thing. So that was during the pandemic when nobody could really meet and do things. That's where they did the roundtable. And luckily we had a good commissioner and at that time and was able to take that on technology wise and be able to record it and have an opening and so on. And
I think you hit the nail on the head there. You can find commissioners. Yeah. But finding good commissioners is another thing. I'll give an anonymous shout out to one of our district commissioners. Through the pandemic, he ran Facebook. He recorded things. He put it out there, and he built his roundtable during the shutdown and such. And today has one of the largest followings of roundtables in our district. And kudos to him. Yeah. Gary, if you're watching. I think to summarize the whole commissioner thing, quality commissioners are irreplaceable. Yeah. And
I agree.
You know, they can make or break a unit. Yep. And as a leader too, it took me years to understand what a unit commissioner could really do for me. Yeah. Okay? Right. And there are some challenges with a new leader versus a tenured leader with the commissioners, but it's all about teamwork. It's all about teamwork and you know, there's a spot on the bus for everyone, and we have lots of open commissioner seats.
And there's, you know, the bus is real small. It's a small bus. We need to get a bigger bus.
Let's stop there. We're digging a hole that I don't think we mean to dig.
It's the antibiotics, okay? Okay.
All right.
Do we have more questions? I'm sure there's.
We do, yeah.
Yes, we do.
A bunch, yes.
Is it okay for an adult who transferred into a new order of the Arrow Lodge to wear the flap that came out long before joining?
Long before joining. So,
do you have to wear the current one, or?
Well, the thing is, a lot of lodges will have different flaps. They have commemorative ones and the standard, and then they have ones that for brothers and ordeal and vigil and all that. There's a lot of different patches that a lot of lodges have. And some lodges go a step further and have very exclusive patches that once you join, you get one, and that's it. You never get another. So a lot of people don't sew those on. They put them away and put them in frames and hand them down within their generations. So there's a lot of different patches that you could wear. I know that when I was a Cub Scout leader, the very first thing I did was I took my youth uniform and transferred a lot of the patches over to my adult Cubmaster uniform. And one of them was my lodge flap. that I'd gone through tap out up in Wisconsin. That was the one I went through was Makajuan is the name of the lodge. And it was a beautiful patch, a gorgeous patch. It was a centennial 40th anniversary patch. It was nice. And I put that on my Cub Scout uniform. So on my adult Cub Scout leader uniform. And it's one of those things. I have a video sort of about Cub Scout leaders getting involved with the OA, because a lot of youth OA members grow up and have kids and become Cub Scout leaders. So they should have that goes on. The membership in the Order of the Arrow is permanent. It's forever. So once you're in through ordeal, that's it. You're in for life. It's just a matter of paying your membership fee to whatever lodge you're locally associated with. Now, obviously, when the lodge people said, okay, well, you need to pay your membership fee, then I changed my patch. And I hated to take that one off because it was beautiful, but I put it on the back of my sash. So that way I didn't have to let it go too far. It was still close to my heart. So,
all right, I'm going to win friends and influence people now. So
hashtag Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, yes. Dale Carnegie.
Well, that was a painful class for me, by the way. So I saw that one come up in the chat. I've been struggling with that one. And so I have a lot of different responses to that. So first one is once official, always official is what the rule is. However, like Stan said, if you as a youth or a young adult went through and got your membership in OA in a chapter or in a lodge that may not even exist, there is some unwritten rule, I believe, that you can wear that. However, if you're coming into a lodge and you're looking to go back and wear something vintage, my question, if first off, I have to care or know it. Okay.
Right.
People aren't going to know it. But if you stand out, my question would be why? What is your purpose for bringing attention to yourself with this not normal patch? Right. So I've seen.
I could think of some things.
Yeah,
I could think of something as far as the uniform. The uniform tells a story.
Yes.
And this might be a nice flavor that the individual wants to bring back, saying, hey, this was the patch back when my father was in the lodge, when he was lodge chief or something. That's something that it's a memory. It's something to talk about. And that's probably a reason to put that old vintage patch on. There isn't anything it says as far as lodges. I've never come across a lodge that had bylaws that required you to wear that particular patch. They literally didn't spell it out.
And I wouldn't expect that. I think it's more a character thing.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of wearing an older one? What's the rationale behind it?
It could be, I know some stuff about that past, and it's relevant to kids of today. Maybe interested in the first lodge that did the very first run at Philmont, as far as the lodge is going to Philmont as OA. So that might be something that they want to talk about. It could be something that is as specific as that. It could be a lot of things.
I think sharing that reasoning for wearing something uniquely, being transparent about why you're wearing something like that, at least with a small group of people, would serve well. Because if I see somebody that's sitting there wearing something from 70 years ago,
you're going to ask questions.
Well, but I'm also going to look at it and go, why is this new guy who's just come in wearing this? What's his deal? Is he looking for attention? Is there a story behind it? And should I say something? I'd be far more comfortable hearing from that person or hearing through, Scout gossip, that doesn't exist. That, he's wearing it in honor of his grandfather, who was a founding member of the lodge.
Exactly.
So with that, now there's reason for it. Otherwise, without reason, it feels very self-serving.
Right. Right.
And attention.
Well, see, that's the thing. If you're going to tell the story, it better be an interesting story.
Right.
A relevant story.
Yes.
Now,
and I'm putting that on a modern day uniform. Now, we have some people that wear some of the 1970s, 1960s uniforms, and now you're trying to go more period specific and such, and that would be appropriate.
Yeah. Well, the Chief Scout Executive wore his youth greens at the national meeting. So there's photographs of him wearing that with the Eagle Scout and all that, and it was pretty impressive, to see something of that nature, because they didn't have collars. There was no collar on the shirt. It was all neckerchief. They didn't even have collars.
So we can say that wearing that patch, while it's not forbidden,
right,
there is some ethical issues with it.
Yes and no. Technically you're not supposed to put any patches on your sash, but you can put whatever you want on the inside, technically. So that's the thing about an OA sash. My own sash, I think it's over here. Reach over here. And it's just the OA sash. Simple. Now the exception is that if you have a centennial patch, that's allowed. So that's the only thing. But on the inside of my patch is my Makajuan. That's the original one I did the ordeal. Don't look at the dates. I wrote dates on it because I'm wearing it like this, and I go, "Oh yeah, I was a scout back then." But it's on the inside, as you can see. I put a lot of patches on there.
Yeah,
so that's on the inside. It's near my heart. So and the rest of it is the way it should be on the outside. So that's totally fine. And I do that so that if I see someone, like for instance, I'm at NOAC, National Order of the Arrow Conference, and I see somebody from Makajuan, my old lodge, my original lodge that I was tapped out at, I'm going to say, look, and they'll be like, oh, I haven't seen one of those in years. Yeah. It's a way of relating and telling that story and being able to just get into the scouting spirit of it all. I think patches have a lot to do with it. Uniform has a lot to do with it. But, it can be very suspect if you have somebody sitting there wearing a patch from the 70s. That has nothing to do with what their uniform should look like. That becomes suspect at that point. So, but
all right. Next question. Jerry M. will be handing over his role as Scoutmaster in September of next year after 3 years in that role. Thank you for your service. Any advice for turning over the Scoutmaster role?
I would be hypocritical
should you consider staying involved?
We all were like, it's like being at a roundtable meeting. They all jump on it. Unit commissioner, obviously, that would be my knee-jerk thing to recommend. But before you pass the baton, and thank you for the service that you're doing, you better have some good backups. Okay, have your assistant scoutmasters ready to take up that role. They should be doing it on and off right now. If you're going to be stepping out in a few months, that's my recommendation, and they need a backup too. So there needs to be a structure of constantly having a flow of people coming in. There are units out there that actually put that in their bylaws, that the Scoutmaster will only be eligible for 4 years. After that, they have to switch out. So that's a possibility. That could be something like that.
And don't be afraid to walk away. I mean, if you're moving on, truly move on. you know. I think that's
but always be a phone call away. If they have an issue that they weren't familiar with, be available. Okay,
right.
That's a big thing.
But I'm a hypocrite in commenting because I've been a Scoutmaster for a long time, and a succession plan is not really in place. Yeah.
Even if you've been doing it for as long as you have, you need to have good people that can step up. What if you had the thing I had with the pneumonia and all that bronchitis and stuff, which you've had? We've all gone through the icky cruds, okay? Who picked up the baton? So you have a youth leadership group that needs guidance.
I can answer that. And I shared this with you guys a few months back.
Yeah.
2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
And that became a topic of conversation of what if. And so the succession plan was loose, but I have been blessed in the almost 2 decades of being a Scoutmaster, of having great people to help out. And so I have never had the concern that if something happened to me, that there aren't people there to carry on. And I've always had a great committee chair and at least 2 super awesome ASMs, if not more. And so it's, and my co-Scoutmasters, because we do male, female, have, for the most part, 2 of the 3 have been fabulous.
There you go.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have a good backup group, and it's so critical that a lot of scout leaders don't realize how important they really are.
Yes.
It almost becomes a thankless job. I mean, it's a lot of work, but believe me, you see that Cub Scout go through and get the arrow of light. You see that arrow of light go all the way through and become an Eagle Scout. That's your reward. For the rest of your life, you're going to think of that scout and all the stuff that they've done. They did it on their own. They don't even know that you were in the background making sure that they had the opportunity to get a merit badge, that they had the opportunity to have a board of review, that you were doing all that stuff in the background.
You know, I have to share this personal story.
Sure.
As you mentioned that.
We love stories around the campfire.
Okay. So last weekend, well, actually 2 weekends ago, I went camping with my unit, but had a former scout who got married, and I ended up driving an hour Saturday morning to camp, 2 hours that morning to the wedding, 2 hours back from the wedding, and then the kids decided it was too wet to camp and they wanted to go home. So I was in the car driving 6 hours. But then last weekend, I had another one, and this is one of my young adult leaders that joined Scouts, got his Eagle Scout, and still to this day, not only is there a personal friendship, but he helps out with the unit.
Good.
And he's of National Guard, I think. National Guard. And it was really cool because his wedding party was made up of one of his National Guard buddies, my committee chair, who's in his late 20s, another Eagle Scout that I had as a first grader in Tiger Cubs, and another Eagle Scout who serves down in New Mexico in the Air Force.
Wow.
And so it was really cool seeing 4 of my Eagle Scouts that literally I worked with as Cub Scouts, all of them.
That's
on
neat.
up. And yes, it made me feel very old.
But it's a good feeling.
It was an amazing feeling. And I had to laugh because my wife and I sat in the back of the church, and as the groomsmen came in, each one of them was like, with their little,
exactly.
And it's like, okay, but we're here for the wedding. We'll do this at the reception. But it was, and you know, those moments are the biggest rewards that you can never think of or plan for or imagine as you're going through. But that was just a super wonderful day, watching a scouting youth really become a man,
Right.
and the buddies around him and stuff, and to be a part of that.
It's huge, gigantic. It's what we're in this for, to help our youth succeed. And as a Cub Master, I love being a Cub Master. That was fun. But as far as the in Cub Scouts, you may be seeing it through you're building character. That's really the purpose of Cub Scouting, is building that character. And you get this little tiger that can't possibly make eye contact to another adult. You know, this is not a parent. You know, and they're hiding behind mom, you know, and pulling her skirt around and just trying to not being an eye shot. And then a week later, they're on stage with a puppet going crazy. Okay. And then before you know it, they're doing, you know, all kinds of stuff, all the badges and things that they do, all those belt loops. There's a ton of them. They just they blossom. They actually just, you know, become a character. Right. And that is the beautiful thing. And to know that, I know that particular Cub Scout I'm thinking of, this is when I'm actually visualizing. He's actually, I think he's a target specialist for the Air Force. So that's what he does for a living. He flies drones in other countries. So,
oh, nice.
You know, that's it. And that's the neat thing, you know, and you know that they've taken on some responsibility. I could never imagine that shy little kid that could not make eye contact. I could never see that. And now he's actually a very active person in the military. So it is worth it. It is definitely worth it. That's for sure. I'm sure, Matthew, you probably had similar experiences, you know, with your Cub Scouts, you know, as far as seeing them being kind of shy and then all of a sudden explode in activity. Is that true?
No, they've always been loud. So I don't know.
Do the scream box? Do you do the
what?
Scream box? The scream box. That's where you have a box, and it has the word "scream" written on a piece of paper inside. And when you take off the lid, everybody screams, you know. And then when you put the lid on, everybody's silent.
Oh, try that. I'll try that. The only thing that I do that's similar to that is that when we have them carry their 6 essentials for the Cub Scouts, and I'm having them bring them out. I'm like, okay, everybody gets one, you know, pull of the whistle, and then that's it. And then like from that point on, it's only for emergencies, because you know you get them all out, and as soon as they have it, it's just like, it's like they just want to. Yeah, I'm like, no, just let's just get it out of the way, and do that. The only time I see Cub Scouts ever be quiet is when they're doing the flag ceremonies and they get up on.
I thought it was when they're doing something wrong.
Oh no,
that's when they're quiet.
It's like I'll have the most loud, you know, Cub Scouts. They're yelling around, they're screaming chicken jockey and all the stuff that Gen Alpha is screaming nowadays. And they'll go up on stage and I'll say, okay, hey, I want you to go up there. I want you to lead the pledge, the oath, and the law. And they get up there and they're like, audience attention.
Yeah.
It's like just, I'm like, where's all that energy? Like, use it. Come on.
Yeah. Well, they were being serious. That's the character that comes through. So those are going to be the ones that are going to do things.
I'm going to help our audience here.
Sure.
I think we have some more questions.
Yes, we do.
All right. Well, Relantel commented that at Roundtable, they barely have 40% of the units showing up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, that's you know,
probably
about the same in our council, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
Recently, I had the question, how do I get people to attend Roundtable? And I thought about it and I says, make it worth going to roundtable. That's the important thing. And a lot of them just don't know how important it is. They just make it worth it.
So
Have something there. Have something there that they want.
Yeah.
we
had one that on the west side of our cities that was very successful in the fall, having an ice cream gathering.
Yeah.
And people got used to that. So it wasn't something that just, okay, we're going to do ice cream and everybody came. It was something that built as a tradition, and people look forward to that and such. But I think in the general question of what can we do to bring people to roundtable, what can we do to recruit Cub Scouts, what can we do? It's the same question regurgitated over and over and over and over again. The best answer to that is be creative, stay convicted to your agenda, and perseverance. There is no magic wand. And I think you have to come up with something. If I had an answer that could bring people, everybody would take it. Now everybody's doing it, and it's not going to work.
Exactly. You're still going to end up with 40%.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to be creative, and at the same time too, I think for roundtable, but for units as well, you have to have energetic people. You have to have likable people. You have to have energetic people that really display that I want to entertain you. I want to serve you. I want to educate you. Because, if you get Bueller, nobody's going to be excited to come.
That's the key. You got to keep them in there. You have to have some kind of buy-in there. That's for sure.
So Relantel asked an interesting question: how to find commissioners under 50?
I love that.
Is he saying that a lot of commissioners are old? I take it, or
yeah. When I step into a commissioner meeting, I bring the average age down by 30 years. So I had a lady from National who I named Julie, who I was sitting there talking with, and she's like, "It's good to see some Gen Z here," and I'm like, "Well, I'm a millennial, but thank you."
Traditionally, and when I first started 20 years ago in scouting, the Commissioner Corps was where they put the old guys out to pasture. I mean, as
not anymore.
As that is, I think that's a stereotype that the Commissioner Corps is constantly and going to for quite some time still fight, because it is a place for those that are done with the unit, willingly or unwillingly, where they find a spot in the organization. And that's where our training and management of the higher up commissioners really becomes key to make sure that those elderly, is that
experience?
Be nice.
Tenured.
In July, I retire.
Those tenured scouters in the Commissioner Corps are properly engaged and encouraged and enthusiastic. And it does get tough because, Matt, you actually said it earlier. I didn't know that I really was able to. I think there is a little bit of that for people, that they feel like I have to have all this experience. But I will throw out one more observation. It's amazing to me, and a pet peeve of mine, again, I'm going to win friends and influence people here, how somebody in Cub Scouts that goes to Wood Badge that hasn't even finished the first weekend is all of a sudden ready to become a course director on staff. So why can't we get that same excitement in our Commissioner Corps? And that's where I think we need to kind of explore how can we get that same Kool-Aid.
I almost think it's two different parts. For what you're talking about, that person who's like, they're in Wood Badge and they haven't even finished the ink on their their ticket and they're talking about being a course director. I think that is some excitement, but I also think it's a little bit of like chasing dreams of grandeur. I think they're more chasing like the title, and at least in my experience when I've ran into those sorts of people. And the second one is something that I'm starting to do is to approach those leaving Cub Masters to talk to them about like, hey, listen, like you might not know much about a troop or anything like that, but I know that you just got done learning a whole bunch of lessons about how to run a pack and how a pack works and all that. You would be a perfect commissioner. Like you don't have to take on a troop. We can just give you a singular pack. And if you want to help them out and like just teach them, you can just be, you can be their friend, connect them with resources and let them learn from your experience. You don't have to be, you know, a scoutmaster that's getting put out to pasture. And I think that, well, I'm hopeful because we've only pitched this to a few people that maybe we can grow our numbers with that and help our packs, because our packs right now outnumber our troops like 2 to 1 or something. So
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
You know, another thing about commissioners having gray hair, they're convicted to this whole thing about they're totally convinced and have that convicted nature of scouting's higher purpose and higher goals, and they can't let it go. I can't let go of the Scout Oath and Scout Law. It is such a part of me. I can't. So it's a natural thing to be a commissioner. That's just me.
I think I mentioned this in a previous Campfire Chat, but I think it's worth repeating. Having done Cubmaster and Scoutmaster for quite a period of time, you do have to evolve. I mean, the kids of 20 years ago are not the same as the kids today.
True. True.
But I think one of the things of advice that I could give to any scouter is that if you've been in it for a while and you haven't been in the trenches, and when I say in the trenches, at the unit level, if you have not been in the unit level for a period of time since the pandemic, you need to be very careful how you share your knowledge, because scouting is very different. It's like you talk about a renaissance. The renaissance started with the pandemic.
Yep.
The kids that we're dealing with today are not the same as pre-pandemic kids.
Right.
And so my advice to any tenured scouters, be careful how much wisdom you impart with, because it may not be as relevant as it would have been pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Good point. One of the viewers' questions too long to put up. One of the viewers commented that their troop almost failed due to a committee that was kind of not in touch with the scouts, and district staff and commissioners helped get them on the right track and get the troop back in order. So it's good to hear a success story.
Yeah, that's for sure. And there's a lot of those out there. Like we talked briefly about free range scouting. If you're not going to roundtable, if you're not connected to your district, you're basically floating along just doing scouting your way. And that's not the proper way. There needs to be some tethering to the program, to the scouting movement. And free range scouting is something we need to discourage. Don't. There's so much stuff out there, because free range scouting often runs into a wall, and that's the end of that unit. So that's what happens.
I want to ask our group a question here based on the question that's coming up.
So I'll leave it up.
My question before answering this is, do you think that 8 small troops within a city is better than 3 larger, well-run units?
I would say I like the smaller units versus the larger ones. Large units tend to lose scouts. They don't have a great history of retention. That's been the history of large units. They might get 20 scouts crossing over from Cub Scouts, I might get 20 scouts. But at the end of the year, they might have 4. The rest of them are gone. That's the retention of a large unit. You get lost. You get lost in a big unit, and it's scary getting into there. If you go into a smaller unit, it's more, you have a senior patrol leader and 2 patrol leaders in a small unit. That's great because it's very youth oriented, and a troop can kind of handle that a little better. The youth can handle that better in a smaller troop. So I prefer a small unit versus a large unit. There's nothing wrong with a large unit if you can keep the retention. So
yeah, I saw Matt shaking his head.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side, because at least I'm seeing it here where we have some now. My experience obviously is more with Cub Scouts now, and I have found that when you have smaller Cub Scout packs, the adults tend to get burned out more quickly, and that causes problems like we're having right now, where 2 of the packs that I've been a commissioner for, unfortunately, I've had to help dissolve because the parents are so burnt out and have had problems for multiple years that they just want to go to another troop that's healthy, or another pack that's healthy and running. So I am of the mindset that having fewer, stronger, larger units, I think, is more beneficial to the program. But like I said, my experience has only been with Cubs, where they're little micro dens and such, so they each have their own experiences and things like that, and you have more of a pool of adults to pull from, so there's less burnout. It still happens. All the problems that happen in a small unit also happen in a large unit. You're just able to pass it around a little bit more. So
well, you need that participation from all the adults. Every youth that's in that unit has adults, so somewhere, and they need to be a part of it. So if you can make sure that that's part of it, even a small unit, let's say you have 8 kids, you got 2 parents or 2 guardians at least per kid. So that's a good leadership. So even in a small unit.
One of the challenges that, and I've dealt with this unit size and question and stuff. And I don't know if this is nationwide. I can only speak locally. When I first started in scouting, I learned that our district executives were evaluated on a professional level. One of their units of measure was, did they add a unit within their district? Okay. And then they took it out for a few
years.
A
good measure.
Not a good measure.
I'm going to refrain from yang or naying any of this. I'm stating what I understood. And then they took it away for a period of years, and there was a significant feel, but then it kind of snuck back in. I want to say 5-6 years ago, maybe thereabouts, where I wonder if it is a good thing that we're trying to add new units when we are struggling to keep, let's pick on the girl units. Some of the girl units that are just barely the minimum, would we not be better off having a stronger single unit in a city rather than 3 little independent ones?
Quality versus quantity. That's the real thing.
And so the question that Mike was putting up for this person, the first thing I always, when I hear the question of I'm starting a unit, my first thought goes to, you don't like the way some other unit is running, so you know better, and you're going to go off, and now you want everybody to tell you the secrets. And yet at the same time, we started our unit because the parents were not happy with the local unit that was offered at the time. So I don't want to be hypocritical. I'm very cautious of that because it's a pet peeve of mine, and I don't want to be what I don't like. But you know what the first thing I would say to the person wanting to start a unit is it necessary? Are you doing it for the right reasons?
That's a good point, Bucky.
you know.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah.
But
and it's a thing about professional scouting, though. When you're being paid to do that job, they set goals, and that goal might be 10 new units. Okay, that might be a goal that they have to fulfill, and it's a job. It's something as a volunteer we don't want to do it. There's a lot of stuff that they do that I wouldn't do. I'm sorry.
Right.
Fundraising, everything.
So, exactly. All that fundraising and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but still, it is a job to them, and there has to be some kind of matrix there for success.
There does. I don't know that starting a new unit.
I would think that not just start a unit, but take the units that they have and help them succeed just one notch. All of the units, if they could just get one additional notch on advancement or meetings or going to summer camp or whatever, that could be a great thing. It's the quality versus quantity, and if you constantly go down that quantity thing, it's never ending. That just goes up and up and up and up and up. It's like inflation. It just goes, and there's and then eventually it's got a recoil. And I think that's kind of been the renaissance when we lost all those Cub Scout packs during COVID. When we lost them, that kind of reset everything into quality. And I think that's the real renaissance of scouting, is going towards that quality of scouting, not necessarily quantity. I talked to my friend Mark over in England, and they have a quota. Their units are 40 scouts.
Yeah. You shared that.
They have a waiting list.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I wish we could try something like that. But I think the understanding from our off-camera discussion,
it's a different chartered system.
Very different chartered system.
It's different. They actually own the scouts. The city owns those scouts, and they have their own land. They have their own scout hut. They have their own facilities. They are given certain amount of money from the council over there. So it is amazing how that scouting program is different than the U.S.
Yeah. So Stan, we should probably answer that question that Mike put up that I kind of interrupted there, just to be fair to our viewers.
Definitely.
Okay, so someone's considering starting a pack or troop, looking for advice.
Starting a pack or troop is wonderful, and it's highly commendable. But is it something that's needed in your area? That would be my first question. Now, in America, we have less than 1% of youth that are actually involved in any scouting at all. So I would say, it's probably needed, but check that out. See if instead of starting a new unit, maybe go and find a unit that's already there and help their quality. They help them with leadership, help them with membership. That's the first big scale thing.
I'm going to add that
something I just wanted to add. A professional scouter had some wisdom and some things that were happening a while ago, that too much unit consolidation is not necessarily a good thing.
True.
Because there needs to be a kind of a minimum number of units in an area, so that if one unit kind of runs astray, that fine, they can do the thing, and scouts will kind of gravitate to the unit that meets their needs. If one unit kind of runs off the rails,
it's that quality thing. You got to have those quality units. That's
let's assume that our viewer is doing it with the right intentions and stuff, and it's not just I want to do it because it's my church type thing. I think that's the wrong reason to do it.
Exactly.
Or I've always wanted to do it at my church. Having started 2-packs now, for sure, 2-pack for sure. Sorry, bad pop culture reference there. Matt's like, what? At any rate, the advice I would say about starting a pack, you're not going to do it in a year.
True.
Sit down, plan out your calendar year, take a look at the different ranks, and they've made it a lot easier now in Cub Scouts. And Matt, you can definitely back me up on this.
Yeah, very streamlined. Very streamlined.
6 and 2.
There's a lot of activities like the bike rodeo. There's a belt loop for each rank, and you can do a bike rodeo that encompasses all ranks at a pack level. You can do we do kickball, and that covers the sportsmanship and playing a game and stuff. As a Cub Master, you're going to want to be familiar with what your den leaders, think of it like a job. You know, you don't have to do everything, but you need to understand everything. So familiarize yourself with the belt loops for all the different dens, and be ready to be that guide to put that stuff together and help guide your den leaders to a goal. So if kickball is the activity coming up, well, perhaps the den leaders, you can guide them towards talking about sportsmanship or working on the sports belt loop in the weeks leading up to that pack. I think planning a calendar ahead of time is the most important thing as a incoming Cub Master that you can do. And despite what others may tell you, do it yourself, because you're going to be the one, Johnny on the spot, that's going to have to make those decisions, deal with those situations at the weekly meetings. And if you are reliant on, well, what did we talk about? And you're not organized in your mind on paper to be able to answer those things, it's going to be a bigger challenge all around. And so I'd say your first thing, sit down, plan out your year, then present it to your committee.
And it's really your 5 and 5 that for a new unit, that's the beginning of it, is planning out that schedule. Now, if you're dealing with a troop, later on the youth can actually tweak that schedule, but at the beginning it needs to be there. There needs to be some kind of focus on activities and the reason for scouting. That's the big thing, is having those activities on there. Not just Cub Scouts, but you're dealing with troops, and you're dealing with crews, and you're dealing with sea ships and Sea Scouts. So there's a lot that can be done.
The other thing I would say is I learned from the Roaming Scouter. You guys ever heard of the Roaming Scouter?
I have.
Yeah. The Roaming Scouter had a video that basically said, steal other ideas.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. It's not really stealing, it's borrowing without permission. So.
It's like there's no plagiarism in scouting,
Well,
exactly.
It's a good line. I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Come up with different, or talk to other people, or watch the Roaming Scouter, watch ScouterStan. Even ScouterStan comes up with a good idea once in a while.
Hey, how dare you, sir?
It goes both ways, right?
They say a blind dog finds a bone every now and then.
You hit the man while he's down. He's over here taking his antibiotics in the corner, and you're attacking him.
Coughing up a lung here.
I have style, but nobody said it was a good style.
But as far as you got to have a purpose, right? You got to have that goals. You got to set goals, okay? And scouting is too important to let it fall through the cracks. We don't service half. It always blows my mind when I was in advancement and looking at the numbers and then looking at recruitment. All of the charts that they have, how many kids are in school, then it's less than it's like several zeros and a 1% that are actually involved in scouting. We have a huge group of youth that are not able to be in a unit. So starting a unit is 90% of the time is probably just fine. But if you're just starting a unit because you want one in the church basement, that may not be the best reason. So
Hey,
you need to
recruiting
have
is
that
hard.
schedule, the purpose. There's a lot of goals, but do it. But do it. It's so important.
Recruiting is hard, and retention is even harder.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's no magic wand for it.
Mm-hmm. Having good leaders, though, having good mentors there for a troop, having good den leaders in a pack, that is so important. That dynamic that is so important. And then we go full circle here when I say den chiefs. You need that den chief in there. You need that whole thing going. And it's hard. It's difficult to start off that way. It's almost impossible. I mean, when you're dealing with 5 and 5 just to get a charter, that could be challenging. And it's so important that we give the facility the ability to be in scouting. There are youth that wanted to be a scout, but there's no unit around. At least they don't know of a unit, and they have no idea. They wanted to be in scouting. They wanted to go camping. They want to hike in the mountains. They want to play computer games with their peers, just like they do in a troop. But they can't. It's unfortunate.
Stan,
true.
I got to jump in here.
Bad.
It's so good to see you feeling better. I really expected that you were not going to be that chatty tonight. And you are on fire, no pun intended, tonight around the campfire.
Temperature. I'm about 101 right now.
Yeah.
All right. Should we get to some?
Let's get some questions here.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hillary, a frequent viewer of the show and a member. Thank you much for your membership. Great point that outgoing Cub Masters will make great commissioners for Cub packs. And also, there are many cases where seasoned commissioners might be out of touch with the units today. Okay.
Yes. There are commissioners that, maybe setting them off to pasture is a good thing. I always say to people, I said, look, you don't need experience to be a commissioner. A lot of times when you have those experiences, it's a lot of bad habits that need to be broken. So that's the thing. And, some commissioners may not be the best, but, we are so desperate for commissioners. They do fill the slot, and they can help in many regards. And most of the time they do.
Okay, the math guy is now the leader, I assume the Scoutmaster of the unit that he was in as a youth. So congratulations.
Wow.
That is so cool.
Full circle. That's
so cool.
That's at
the unit that I was in as a youth is now a girls' unit. So
I'm having a Lion King moment, all right?
Okay. Relantel, member, with some other good comments today. The new metrics show retention percent. That's most telling. And I assume that's retention percent of youth members.
Yeah.
Yes, because the way that the district executives are measured, from what I've gathered by talking to a few, is that they are measured on the number of units they have, the number of Cub Scout units that they start, and then the retention of membership. So there is some standard where if a pack dissolves, but those scouts are moved over into another pack to where it shows that they're still staying within the program, it's less of a hit. It's still a hit because they've lost a unit, but they're still showing that that unit just needed to dissolve, and quality over quantity sort of thing. But they still are measured on how many units they have. So
yeah, it's a matrix. Okay. It's a matrix that they can quantify. It's something that they have numbers on. So quality is subjective. So that matrix, I don't know if that's something that they're working on, but it's easy to say we have X amount of units. So
it's like ice cream works, yeah.
Just saying,
ice cream.
All right. Another unit said in their town they have 2 troops, one large and one small. The small one only has 3 scouts, and it's failing. That's That's really unfortunate that that there's something about the small unit that isn't meeting the needs for the scouts.
True.
That's unfortunate.
That small unit, that small troop, could easily turn things around. And I would say that all
Probably.
3 of the youth need to be den leaders, or den chiefs, den chiefs, and have them recruit into their unit. That would be the first thing I'd do. I'm a big believer in the den chief.
You also have to look at there are some biases that we've discovered, at least here out in Northern Virginia, about when people go into, be a scout or joinscouting.org, and they type in a unit. Sometimes they only go, just like Google, people rarely go to the second page of Google. They look at what are the units that are at the very top, and they tend to pick 1 or 2 of those that are at the very top. So we've noticed that some small units have a hard time recruiting, at least through websites and things like that, because they're further down on the chart just based on geographically where they're at.
Right.
And then the other part is that sometimes you look at a big unit and you're like, wow, this big unit, they must have their stuff together. We don't want to go to the smaller unit. So then it becomes like, I call it a neutron star, not a black hole, because I think a black hole has a negative connotation, but like a neutron star where it's dense, so its gravity tends to pull people in, to it. But like I said, they still have the same problems as a smaller unit. They just have more adults to pass it around to.
True. Well, you hope. There are some big units that have issues. So, I've got one in our district that's almost 100 scouts. So it's a big unit.
That's a lot. That's a big group.
When you have almost 9 patrols, that's a lot.
That's an adequate number.
That's a big unit. So, but they also have 19 wood badge trained assistant scoutmasters. So
that's where the argument for the size in England's units really kind of comes into play. And
they have a waiting list.
Back to economics 101, supply and demand. And since we talked about that, and for those that might be tuning in that are not clear, apparently in England, they limit the size of their units to 40 scouts, and they have wait lists to get into many of these units, which is an interesting setup to apply to our program here, if that were to be the case. And, I do think that 40 is an ideal number. I mean, it's what we deal with for Jamboree troop size.
Right.
For some reason, 40 is kind of that magic number.
Yeah, it's 4 patrols.
Yeah,
That's
4 patrols.
Yeah.
When we look at wood badge, we're looking at 48 is the standard. You can get an extension of 56, but again, we're right in that area. And wouldn't that be interesting if you put a cap on units of saying units can only be 40 in size?
Right.
And, that would create a more camaraderie in your regional areas. So in those cities where you're competing, you could compete to be the desired troop, but you still have a full unit. And I don't know, it's an interesting concept to imagine here. But 100,
well, they have good leadership, and what's interesting is that they do not recruit. They literally don't. They don't have den chiefs. They don't have. They kind of step back, and the flow is still coming at them. So
and I mean, quality program draws people in,
exactly,
no doubt. But reputation also pulls people in, and they've got their losses as well, but they can absorb those losses with the large numbers. We've got a few units like that locally as well. But I've hovered around 30 as kind of my preferred number. We're definitely not that today. We're significantly lower, but we're rebuilding.
Right.
I can't imagine 100 though.
Yeah.
I mean, without.
It's amazing.
I mean,
and it's one senior patrol leader. They have 2 assistant senior patrol leaders, but it's one senior patrol leader.
I'm just thinking
it's amazing. It's amazing.
I'm thinking from the adult leader side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a lot of adults. A lot of it. Every adult is involved. So they go to they meet in the dining, the cafeteria of a high school. That's where they meet, and it's filled. The room is completely packed with adults and kids. So it's amazing to go to their meetings and their big ceremonies and stuff. It's amazing. So, but it is something that as a Renaissance, we need to think of quality versus quantity. And one of the big steps of quality is having good leadership step up and having those adults step up. That was the big thing about one. The power of one at the national meeting is that you need parents to start stepping up. We need to recruit parents instead of recruiting the kids. They're coming with the parents anyways.
Well,
the parents.
That's kind of been the secret of a successful Cub Scout. Recruiting.
But it should be for troops and crews and all the other scouting things. So it should be from leadership.
Are we? And on the subject of parents stepping up, at one of our troops meetings in the fall, as the scouts and the SPLs were doing the things, I kind of gathered the parents in the back and I said, parents, there's 138 merit badges. I guarantee each of you is passionate and knowledgeable. Now there's more in at least 2 of them. So why don't you either consider becoming a merit badge counselor, or if you're not quite ready to do that, hey, could you kind of organize an activity and, myself or one of the other committee members will become a counselor for something that you're an expert in so we can sign it off. And, one of the committee members picked up that challenge, became a merit badge counselor for a couple things, and did the hiking merit badge for our unit and another one, and did an overnight overnight camp out. So, sometimes just bringing up the ideas and saying, hey, you can do this. You can be part of
big thing there, Mike. The big thing there that you did absolutely perfect is you made the ask. You asked those adults. You said, hey, I need help with this. That's the big thing, that you made the ask. A lot of those parents don't want to be bothered. They're too into their phone or laptop or whatever. They want to sit in the back at the meeting and not be seen or heard or anything. Walk up to them and say, look, we have a scout closet full of old donated uniforms. I have no idea what's in that closet. Can you just do a rough inventory? Just make an ask and just don't say anything. They're going to say, oh yeah, sure. And just keep doing that and keep asking them to do things. Pretty soon you got a quartermaster. That's how you get that adult leader to do something for the troop, for the pack.
I've also been kind of systematically asking all of the registered adults, whether it's our unit or other units in our area, hey, you own a business downtown. Could you lead the entrepreneurship merit badge? Or, hey, you're an architect. Hey, if you can lead the architecture merit badge, I'll find a location and get scouts there to attend the class.
Exactly.
Just take some initiative. And another one, my kids wanted to do the pottery merit badge, and I'm like, rather than driving several hours, I talked to the staff at our local art center, and guess what? They have an education coordinator that has previously led a pottery merit badge class.
You go, perfect.
And we had a sold out class, and everyone was very happy. So I want to plant some ideas with our audience, and hopefully they kind of sprout. But
the big thing is the ask. You got to ask them to do it.
So staying on the topic of merit badges, and by your request, Stan,
this is one of my favorite things. I'm so glad.
This is?
Yeah. I love it.
Okay.
That's great.
Well, I don't know that I'm not overly excited about this one, but I think it'll still get a few yucks. So as you noted, we kind of have missed out doing the Bucky Jukebox. Are we sharing?
Let me see what we got. There it is.
Right there it is.
Hey,
Okay.
Got to hit the button.
I don't know what the little line is, but hey, we'll just roll with it here. So
the line is the banner. And if you haven't put a thumbs up on us, let's put the banner on there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So for those of you that have not been with us in the past, I guess we've only done this a couple times, but back each month now is the Bucky Jukebox, and we're going to do our top 10 song list.
There you go.
Camping Merit Badge. And let's see what you guys come up with, how many you can come up with. Actually, Stan, give me a song that you think might be on the top 10 list, and we'll see how good.
My. Of Merit Badge to do with camping.
Related to camping, yes.
Has to be outdoors. Yeah. Rocky Mountain High.
Ooh,
John Denver.
Good. How about you, Matt?
I'm gonna go with Home on the Range.
Oh, there you go.
Very good, very good. Mike, did you want to throw in a guess?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that Home on the Range was number 11. So it didn't make the top 10. Let's take a look at what number 10 is.
Number 10.
Kumbaya.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's a good
there's a lot of campfire influence in this list.
Yeah.
On top of spaghetti.
That's a funny one. I like that one.
Yeah. Number
That's
8.
a Cub Scout one. I love that.
Yeah. There ain't no bugs on me.
There you go.
I'm feeling a very campfire-y themed song list here. The Ants Go Marching.
There you go. Right
number
through
6.
my tent.
Going on a bear hunt.
There you go.
All right. Number 5, Bazooka Bubblegum.
Oh my.
That's one of our troops.
That's good if you're going on a bear hunt, you need some bazooka. So
that's right. That's right. All right, number 4, I'm a little teapot done. We Will Rock You style. Let's see. Number 3, Boom Chicka Boom.
Oh yeah, that was a big one at day camp. They love that one.
Yeah.
Great, John.
We have a comment. Someone suggesting "Take Me Home, Country Road."
Take Me Home, Country Roads. Favorites. Well, how about Sweet Caroline?
Oh,
really?
We have another
Sweet Carolina. That's a good one.
And John Denver will
number
make
1.
An appearance.
Oh, good.
It is Take Me Home, Country Roads.
There you go.
As it should be.
Yeah.
That is a great song. It's a great song.
Yeah. So, and by the way,
I often think of my father when I hear that song. So he was
John Denver from Minnesota, actually, from the town we mentioned earlier, Edina.
Yeah.
Which is kind of old money here in the Twin Cities, and very not country. Very not country. So it's very odd to associate John Denver with this.
Well, he was born in what was that? Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah.
So, I believe it was on Christmas or right around Christmas time.
Yeah.
No, New Year's. It was on New Year's, I think. He was a New Year's baby. So back in the day.
I'd throw a little campfire to the camping merit badge there, and that leaves us a 2.0 version some other time for camping.
That's awesome.
But,
that is great.
We'd love to hear other people's ideas for songs. I see Scout Socks, Take Me Home, Country Roads. What is it? Ging Gang Ghoulie?
Yeah. Okay. You know, Baden Powell was big on that one. He liked that one.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Ging Gang Ghoulie. Watch out.
Okay.
And Mike, we're on the same wavelength tonight because after doing merit badges, tying into the Bucky Jukebox merit badge camping, we have some new merit badges to talk about.
That's right. Relanto's asking about this. Some merit badges are so new they aren't quite out yet, but
wow.
By the end of the summer, I understand we'll have an artificial intelligence merit badge and a cybersecurity merit badge. And then there's also a couple test merit badges. Is it, I think, sewing and dance, perhaps, are the test ones, if I recall correctly?
Those are going into the test lab.
Yeah.
And what I will say is we went through, I want to say it was 2010, 11, 12 era. They announced a number of merit badges, life skills, advanced computing, CAD, that never came to be.
Right.
Which could still be sitting in the wings and come out, because like scuba that came out in 2009, my understanding is that the Scout executive at that time that came in blew off the dust and said, boom, here it is. So
yeah, scuba, I know the guy that actually wrote the book, the book on that, and really promoted it, him and his son. They really were big on scuba diving. And the big thing that's about scuba diving is you have to be certified. That's the first requirement. So you have to be certified scuba. Right. So it's not easy. It's not just getting the swimming merit badge. No, it's a lot to it.
Somebody just said life skills is in the test lab right now. That is true. It's not, what I understand, the same as what they had proposed before. And I guess my point is, be cautious, be excited about the announcement of AI, cybersecurity. It seems fitting, but don't jump the gun with what it's going to ask for. I am sure there are some very well educated and knowledgeable people that are putting this stuff together. And if it comes to fruition, that's great. The last one that we had was Sit in Society. That one, from reliable sources, the original version is not even close to what we deal with today.
Okay.
And it was very, very different in its initial presentation.
Yep.
And those things could come up in presenting, but as we know, and Matt can probably speak very well into the cybersecurity aspect of things and AI. I mean, we see the ads for teach yourself AI to be relevant in the future. My wife and many people are freaking out over being replaced in work with AI, but it is a part of our everyday world now that we have to deal with. And that's something we could add to our Campfire Chat another time, is about AI and how it affects scouting. But the cybersecurity thing is going to be huge. And Matt, I'm going to shut up so you can comment on it.
I'm just saying, if you wait diligently, you just might get an episode about how AI can help you with your scouting programs. That might be on the horizon.
That might be on the. And with Rolando commented that the multi-sport merit badge, I understand it to be kind of the triathlon merit badge, came out a couple months ago.
Yeah, so that was done through a grant. And not, I don't think it was as, I think it came about in a different way. And again, I'm speaking out of guessing, for lack of a better word, or instinct. If you look at the front, it states that there was a fund, a trust fund or something that was put together for this. And it harkens back to fly fishing. Fly fishing was introduced in 2005 based off of the Fly Fishing Association making a contribution. I believe at the time it was $75,000 or $100,000. And that's how many merit badges came to be, was an organization would sponsor it essentially.
Right.
And they stopped that in the mid 2000s and went to youth evaluating it, and it was I don't understand how the youth were selected, but they gave feedback on it.
Right.
And so they use that as a rating system. Obviously, what's going to appeal to the youth that they're going to want to do it. Hence, we have game design, we have chess.
Right.
Those were ones that the youth voted in. And I remember hearing something that it had to score a 70 or better on a scale of 100 for it to come in. But I think the multi-sport one, obviously, Sit in Society was a societal reaction badge. And the multi-sport, I think, was we have this trust fund, and it was all laid out that BSA really couldn't say no. So these new ones, I'm super excited about these new ones.
The Merit Badge Laboratory that they set up online, that's a big place for trying out a lot of these and just seeing if there's an interest. I think it was auctioneering was one of the things that they were trying out.
Auctioneering, life skills.
Is the test lab. There's wildfire management, life skills. In fact, at our council's spring Merit Badge rally, we had a wildfire management test Merit Badge class. I think we had a morning and an afternoon class, and they both sold out. So it was quite popular.
The popularity really helps promote the Merit Badge. In England, another conversation with Mark, their Merit Badges are sponsored. They actually have a sponsor on the Merit Badge, the actual logo.
Some councils are trying to do that do that locally. I know our council is trying to work in partnerships with certain badges. Even myself, when doing certain Merit Badges, there are organizations locally that I prefer to work with for certain Merit Badges. So
what is it, the Citizenship and Society? That's the only Merit Badge without a pamphlet, without a printed pamphlet. It's a PDF, and it's to keep it flexible, and it's really to inform and to make sure that the scout is aware of things going on in the world.
The requirements are opinion, or what do you think?
Exactly.
And so how do you put what do you think into a pamphlet without influencing?
That's exactly what it is. You do the research, and it's a matter of making up your own mind of what the subject or whatever requirement it is. And it's not as controversial as most people think. And I've been in Eagle Boards of Review where the scout was asked, what did he think of that Merit Badge? And he or she would actually proceed to tell us that being thankful for being enlightened on those subjects, whatever their evaluation was, it didn't matter. It was the awareness, being prepared to handle those things, to go to college and be able to have a real conversation about it.
So I've helped over 1,000 scouts earn Sit in Society. So I'm very intimate with that badge. And when it came out, one of the things that I realized and why I took it on was I could see how it could go sideways very quickly, how it could become polarized left, right,
an agenda of some kind.
And I wanted to personally show that when doing that Merit Badge, you as a counselor have to keep it on the dotted middle line of the road.
Right.
And it can be done. And if it's done properly, and I've sat in on a few other counselors, and I've been relatively impressed. I've only experienced one that really wanted to make a platform out of it, and it was light, fortunately. But when done right, it can be a very enlightening experience for the scouts.
Right.
But I've also witnessed it where it's just checking boxes and they're going through, and we could talk about the ins and outs of that Merit Badge all night, but that can be
of all the Merit Badges that are out there, I think that the 4th Citizenship Merit Badge is is by far one of the most controversial, but yes, the most informative. I think you're absolutely right, Bucky. I think that's the way. It could definitely go south real quick.
Yes.
So that's why you keep the group small, so that you can keep the control, and so you focus on the actual requirements. You're not, going off.
Someone has comments about that particular merit badge in particular, about what it is or isn't. I say, well, okay, before I hear your comments, have you read the requirements?
Exactly.
If the answer is no, then it's like, well, okay.
You can't
read
really
the requirements, and then maybe next time we talk, you can tell me what your opinions are. Read the requirements first.
And then, most of the time they read the requirements and they're like, oh, well, thank you.
Right. Well, I heard it was this and that. But no, the requirements don't say anything like that. Okay, well,
exactly.
Problem resolved. Okay, good.
Yeah.
You mentioned merit badge pamphlets a little while ago. So until recently, you had to buy the full merit badge booklet, or the requirements only were available for download as PDF. It's my understanding that on the national site, scouting.org, all of the merit badge booklets in complete form are now available to be downloaded as PDFs. So that's
nice.
That's a very nice thing. So
yes, I think that we're getting more and more
able to do that.
We're more and more getting into that realm, and that's what the youth want. That's what they want. They don't want the physical book. They want the actual PDF on their phone. That's how it is.
It sounds like National is putting out additional resources to aid in completing some of the merit badges as well, and we're going to see some of that with the AI and the cybersecurity supposedly coming out, as well as the Eagle ones. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. But that was something that was announced at the national meeting as well. So we'll have to see what that turns into. But having the merit badge pamphlets in PDF format is huge. So go to the national. I don't know. Maybe we can put the link in at the bottom.
I think it's scouting.org.
Yeah, scouting.org. All of the viewers of this are probably very familiar with where to find that information. But I will try to find it and put it in the description. So I'll put that in there. But the thing about it all is that we're finally getting the renaissance. Going to start using computers and telephone, the little smartphones. We're going to start using those from the youth standpoint. And I think that the PDFs and those kinds of things are eventually going to happen to all of the merit badge pamphlets and all of the things that are out there. It's just a matter of time, and we need to stay up to date. We can't, the gray hair it goes a little further into the brain sometimes. So that's the thing. You need to stay current, especially you unit commissioners.
and that also is staying ahead of the kids as far as how they think and work.
Yeah.
As a merit badge counselor working with kids online and such, I will, without getting too much detail, there are websites out there that drive me up a wall that think they're doing our scouts a favor by giving them the answers for the merit badges.
Yeah.
And as a merit badge counselor, you should be well aware of that, because what the kids will do is copy those websites and then try and pass it off. Okay?
And as a counselor, you need to be aware of those websites.
Yes. So
that way you can.
And that's especially an issue if scouts or merit badge counselors are overly reliant on the merit badge workbooks.
Right.
The merit badge workbooks are not officially from Scouting America. So the counselor can't require that merit badge workbook. It might be useful for the scout to organize some information, but it's never required.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of people, a lot of counselors use that and wrongfully and get away with it.
Yeah. Well, it's adding a requirement to use that book, and that's not good. I mean, that's not part of the guide to advancement. Is prohibited unless
the requirement says write or draw in that workbook or that worksheet.
But it doesn't have to be in that workbook. That's
Correct.
That's an additional requirement that the counselor should not put on.
Yep.
So.
But what I was going to say is we as counselors and leaders need to stay aware, because the use of AI and it's becoming hugely an issue in schools. Of, you know, these kids sound like they're geniuses.
Yeah.
But you have, unfortunately,
they haven't a clue what they wrote.
Right. And, you know, well, you know, it was a blatant, what does the word blatant mean?
I have no idea.
It was a blatant.
Blatant. Yeah.
The blatant.
Yeah. That's the best, is when they use a word that they, you know, they don't know, and then they mispronounce it. Yeah. But I mean,
bugler. If you look at bugler, it says bugler.
Yeah. So, but we need to, and what I would say to people with regards to that is, you're not doing them any favor by letting them get away with it. You're actually doing them a better service by cracking down on them. You're making them accountable, and you're making them become better people. That's what we committed to be as leaders in scouting, is to help develop positive character. And you know what? Sometimes positivity is developed through a negative experience.
So true. Sometimes you learn more from a failure than you do success. So that is so true. Yeah. That is for sure. I can't help remind myself that we've been going for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, the embers are fading.
It is close to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it is wonderful to sit down with you guys. It's good for my heart. Okay, and that's a wonderful thing, especially after being sick for 3 weeks. It is good to be back, and
good to have you back
up and running. Yeah, it is great, and it is just wonderful. I guess we could go around, and if there's any last minute thing you want to add or put in there, if there's any burning questions that we haven't answered.
They said you sound like an owl, Stan.
I do. Who
said that?
Yeah, I don't know that we really have burning questions. A while back, I thought it was going to come up, so I sent out a link for one of your videos. It's my favorite video on your channel, Stan. It's don't leave scouting, upgrade.
Yeah.
So kind of if it's just not working out in a unit and you can't make it work out, then find a unit where it does work out. That's always better than leaving scouting. So
there's a scouting unit out there for everyone. That's for sure.
I thought we were going to kind of get into that topic, so I sent out the link a while ago, but just want to cite that. That's, I think, one of the best videos on all of YouTube in my book. So
thank you. And also, if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber to Scoutmaster Bucky or the Roaming Scouter, come on, let's go to their channel and hit that little subscribe button. I know it's aggravating because 60% of the people who watch my videos never subscribe.
Yeah.
60%. So, or more. I haven't looked at it because it's depressing. So,
Stan, I'm going to be posting a video here in the next day or two.
Is it amusing? The last one with the Jedi was phenomenal. I love that Jedi video.
Well, I think you're gonna like this one.
Good.
This one here, I'll give it a little teaser. Is a plug for the four of us to be invited out to the National Jamboree.
I don't know if that's gonna happen.
And
not with that attitude.
So for our
that's the old guy in the group. What?
For our viewers, our post-production meeting a few months ago was talking about AI and how I'm kind of learning some different aspects of AI, and showed, I think all three of you were part of it, and showed them some music generation. We kind of jokingly threw some prompts together and it created a song. And I still remember Matt's face going, that was actually pretty good. And so over the course of,
I don't know how you do it. It's amazing.
It was fun. And so I fine-tuned it and then actually had a video created for it.
Cool.
And so it's our promotion video, we'll call it, for being invited. And I'll post that on my channel here in the next day or two. So watch out for that. And it's fun. It's whimsical. And that's my music video post for the month.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And it, you
Awesome.
know, the last video that you did, Matthew, was you made me cry. I mean, goodness gracious. I know I was hurting disease wise, but my goodness, that was very tearful.
Yes.
I mean, it was really meaningful. So
It's like I was crying in it, man. Like I was when I wrote the script and then when I read through it, I was like, oh man.
The kid with the police thing and
Chris
that just
Gracious,
got me, you know, because I know, you know, kids that were in the exact same situation. So, you know, that's it's just, if you were really, I mean, my hat's off to you. Those videos that you do are fantastic. Okay.
You've been rocking them out.
I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. Keep up that good work.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
That is very good stuff. And we're gonna try to make Mike get a channel. I think
you guys are trying to get me to become a commissioner, and now do you have a? Okay,
let's just keep going. You know, we're gonna make the ask. You gotta ask you, right?
Yeah, there you go.
My business does have a YouTube channel, but it's nothing related to scouting. So
see, your kids could put something together. Maybe, you know, they have YouTube Kids, you know, for kids.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
That's something they might put together. So we can promote that. You'd be surprised how many youth actually watch these videos. I was stunned. It's a good 60%. So they're probably the ones that don't subscribe. Who knows? Anyhow,
probably.
They will. They will.
They will.
Last request: hit the thumbs up.
Yes.
Anyone still listening? Hit the thumbs up before we sign off, please.
Got to do the thumbs up. That helps the algorithm. That's for sure. But
Thank you to everyone that watched tonight.
Thank you so much. And we're gonna end it up real quick because I'm gonna cough my head off. So thank you so much for joining us, and I will definitely see you on the trail.